What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? My name is Kyler, also known as Deli here from No Tier Gaming. Today I'm going to show you guys my one of my new favorite decks. I ended up playing this at a remote duel VIP qualifier of about 16 people. This was the VIP qualifier for the remote duel YCS, so your first 2 rounds free. I ended up coming in second. Super unfortunate, but this deck is really cool. I like it. It does some cool stuff, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. So the deck I'm of course talking about, which you'll see in what you saw in the title, was Pure Onomatopoeia. So the deck, really good combo deck, sets up boards, is incredibly consistent. I mean, like occasionally you won't see any Utopia cards or any of the Onomatopoeia cards, but like you play so many of them, it's really rare. So to start off with, 3 Utopic Onomatopoeia, 3 Zubababa Gagaga Coat, 3 Dododo Dwarf Dododo Glove, 2 Dododo Giant, 1 Dododo Golem Golden Form, and then 1 Gigantes. So this is like our whole core of our like monster lineup for our deck. It is 13 monsters. Everything in here synergizes with each other pretty much perfectly. There's a couple things I wish were a little bit different, but for the most part, everything makes sense, and the deck is really solid. So I'll kind of explain how all the cards work, just because I know a lot of people won't know these cards, because none of my opponents did. So Utopic Onomatopoeia's effect is that you can special summon 1 Gagaga, Zubababa, Gogogo, or Dododo monster from your hand, 1 of each of them. So you can summon up to 4 monsters off this card. He counts as each of those names. So you can summon one of, if you have 2 of these in your hand and 1 on field, you can summon both of them, just counting them as the different name. So like if you have like a Dododo in hand, if you have like, you can count this as Zubaba, this as Dododo, and then so you special summon 2 from your hand. So this just lets you special summon from your hand for free, and because it counts as all your names, it perfectly synergizes with everything, because a lot of these cards require the different names to work. From there, we'll go over the other more important ones right away. Dododo Dwarf, Dododo Glove. This one special summons from hand and recurs from the graveyard while you control a Dododo or Dododo monster. So like the whole premise of the deck is that you use this to recur for advantage for resources every turn. Then it also has the ability that it can special summon 1 Dododo or Dododo or 1 Zubaba or Gagaga. Yeah, Zubaba or Gagaga from hand. So like double synergy here, has utility. Really nice card for the deck because it's your recursion from graveyard. There is another one you can play, which is Dododo Gigas, but its recursion is on summon specifically, so if you leave a monster up, you can't just bring it back that way. It also has the flaw that you can't use your battle phase, so I just don't like playing it as much. I know some people do, I just don't think it's as good. And then 3 Zubaba, so Zubabancho Gagaga Coat. So this card's effect is that it can special summon itself from your hand, from the hand while you control Zubaba or Dododo monster, and it also has the effect that then it can special summon 1 Dododo or Dododo monster from graveyard, but you are locked into XYZs after you use that effect. But yeah, so this card is arguably the best one, I think. This is the one you want to draw. This is the one that like enables a lot of your extra, like your more advanced, like more of your deeper layer combos, because it can recur like this from graveyard. You can XYZ or link, or yeah, you can XYZ this away, and then have it recur with its own effect. So it allows for like longer combo extension, and it also is a once per turn effect, not like an on summon effect. So if I leave this on board a lot of the time in my combos, if I can, and then I'll just try to use this effect next turn. Our other our like main normal summon for the deck, Gogogo Giant. So Giant's effect is that you can special summon 1 Gogogo monster from your graveyard, which leaves us with our 6 targets here to summon back, and yeah, really nice. Just being able to summon them back from the graveyard. So you can summon back, a lot of times I'll summon back Code or I'll summon back Onomatopoeia, and then I'll use the effect of them on field to special summon from hand. The other benefit he has specifically is that if they negate this effect with like just a Veiler or something, you can just bring this back anyways from the graveyard because he's a Dododo monster. Really nice. And then our final Dododo monster, Dododo Golden Form. This card's interesting. So when your opponent activates an on-field effect, reduce the card's attack by 1500 and negate that effect. It is mandatory and is once per turn. However, but it does function as a Appaloosa to an extent, and it's really easy to summon. To summon it, you tribute 1 Dododo monster. Usually I tribute Giant, and then its attack becomes double that. And it is not an effect summon; it is inherent. So that means it is a free out to Dragoons. There has been hands where I've just done normal summon Giant, special summon Golden Form, swing over Dragoons, like just like literally simple shit like that. So it has the function of that it can just kill big stuff, which this deck sometimes struggles with. It's a threat on board immediately, and it has a negation tied to it. And then our last like engine monster, Gigantes, we play Gallant, because Gallant can search out Gloves or Giant, and those are like both super important cards in the deck. So because it can search both of them, you want to because they can search this ends up being both an extender and it has a lot of utility, because it can just crash into something and like clear a whole back row. So it forces reactions. The only thing I kind of question in this deck is I might want to play a third giant. It's come up a few times. It is arguably like the worst summon, but it still has like, you just want to get to that late game grind point, and having the third giant is super huge, especially because we are playing Desires, so having more named monsters is relevant. So I've been debating it on and off, like which one I'd rather play, or if I'd want to make the stretch space for, or the deck space for him. I think it's worth it. It's a 2K beater worst case scenario in some grind games. Like if you don't get anything off of it, at worst you get a 2K beater, so it's usually okay. Definitely consider running a third. If I have to find mine, so I've been kind of putting it off, but I think it's still good. So for non-engine, we play 3 Sci-Frame Deer Gamma. Gamma is mandatory in this deck. You play a searcher that's discard 1, search 2 of these. So like if you get stopped on that, it really hurts. So you kind of just have to play a Gamma for the Ash. Triple Droll. Droll's amazing in this format. You kind of it's a mandatory card almost. Finally, Triple Ash. Standard. This card's just standard. It's really against everything. It's just the most generic hand trap, basically. 1 Lancia, which we'll explain as we go through the deck in a little bit. But we play the 1 Lancia because we play Dagda, and it was just another target, and it also pseudo functions as a hand trap. And one of your combos is to open up Dagda plus Scythe turn 1, and then you can go later. You can go next turn and then just set the Lancia too, so you have a follow up for the turn after that they have to deal with. Obviously, in some matchups it's not as good, but there are a lot of matchups where like if just activate Lancia is insane versus them. So I think it's really solid. For spells, triple Pot of Desires, draw good. Triple Onomatopoeia. This is your searcher. This searches everything. Any of these, you can get 2 of them by discarding a card. So it's really solid just to open this. And specifically, the hand you want to open like every time is like open these. If you open these, you're golden. You're gonna like almost win almost all those games if it doesn't get negated, because you get your recursion set up, and you also have to open up your Scythe Tornado Gallant combo. And then if the Gallant sticks, you'd have to search a giant next turn. You kill them on the following turn like every time. Onomatopoeia. This searches Onomatopoeia. Double Twin. So it has the dual utility that it can pitch out the cards from your hand that you don't want. Like if you have cards that are okay to discard. Like I don't usually mind discarding gloves. I don't mind discarding extra copies of Desires. Stuff like that. It's okay to discard those cards. So and then Twin is super strong versus a lot of decks in the format. Being able to because if you look at decks like Tribadate or Zoo, they're only setting like 2 cards at a time. You can remove the Boot Sector launch, and you can remove their other set. This can remove the Schism and like the punishment that's normally going to come down from Invoked. I think Twisters is really strong versus most of the meta right now, specifically because most decks just set 2 cards. If they're setting 2. And that's just going to be the normal case. And versus the heavier trap decks, it's still just going to be really good to pop 2 of their cards. For rest of the spells, for 1-ups, we play 1 Reborn good. 1 Call by the Grave, 1 Rhoda. Rhoda searches Onomatopoeia, and it searches Coat, so it's just mandatory. Call by, mandatory to hit the Droll or the Ash on the Onomatopoeia, or Onomatopoeia. I don't think I explained this card. This searches Onomatopoeia or Onomatopoeia. Just forgot to mention that. And then, yeah, Reborn, just because if your normal gets stopped, this deck can be weak sometimes. I was playing Living Fossil, but people will banish your graveyard a lot, or they'll do effects that do something similar to that. So having a way to stop that is really nice, and or having a way having too much graveyard recursion sucks. And if you don't open a good enough hand to where it's relevant, Living Fossil can just in fact be a dead card. So Reborn's better because of its multi-purpose utility, stealing your opponent's graveyard and still being able to use your effects on board, which I think is nice. I wish we had another recovery card that was better, but for the most part, unless you just run out of monsters, you have 6 searchers, or you have 7 searchers total, and pretty much any of your normal summons recurs you into making XYZ plays, so it's not too big of a deal. For the rest of them, I play the 1 Floodgate, 1 Gravediggers. The Nibiru fucks on this deck, so having Gravediggers is really nice. Floodgate is just your other utility for the Rafflesia, because not every deck uses graveyard effects too much, so having the option to do either of them is really nice. Floodgate's also just really strong against some decks. If you Floodgate a Zodiac summon, you're in the money. And then if you Gravedigger, Trap Hole, and then Gravedigger is just there to protect. It's also just a really decent interruption. It can basically be a strike, but your opponent pays 2k. which is, or your opponent takes the damage instead of you, which is huge. So just in general, the card's pretty solid. Side deck, the other two Lancias, that should just make sense. One Painter Tops, triple Phantasme. Phantasme I think is really good. I would main deck it, but it does conflict with Gamma, which can be fine, but I'd prefer to just like the one like if you resolve Phantasme, you're usually okay that if you're damaging against the data, it's kind of whatever. Or if you're Onomat Paradisney, it's not as big of a deal, but it's not good in every matchup, and there's a lot of road in this format. So I decided it's just worth it to side deck it and not have to worry about that as much. One Duster, triple Dark Ruler, the one Reboot, the one Imperial Order, and triple Judgment. So my logic versus back row decks, this deck already has an okay-ish matchup against them, just because Gigantes can blow back row out really hard if it goes off. You also have main deck Twin Twisters. You could try to fit a third Twin Twister here, but it's not necessary. But deck also makes Tornado regularly, and it also has Zeus to fall back on. Red Reboot with Zeus is amazing. Harpy's Feather Duster is just really sound. So I didn't really want to commit too much to the back row decks. So I think we do okay into them. And like the more I've played, the more I'm like, yeah, deck just kind of does okay into most back row decks, because this deck can take the game slow and do fine, just like most back row decks will. So it can take that slow game and still win, whereas some other combo decks just have a harder time doing that. For the rest of it, does two Lancey to finish it out. The one Painter Tops, just going seconds, card's solid. Phantasmes are solid. Dark Ruler, really good, just against pretty much everything. Just activate a Dark Ruler, start clearing stuff is nice. Reboot we explained. Imperial Order, triple Judgment. So I play these because Dark Ruler sucks to deal with. So does Droplets. There's a lot of just like scary power cards I don't want to have to deal with personally, and these just say no to all of them. So I think these are good. Whenever you go first right now, I think you just put these in and you're happy. There's not a deck I play against where I'm like, man, I wish I didn't have Judgment in my hand, or I wish I didn't have Imperial Order in my hand. So those cards are just really solid. Imperial Order can kind of hurt you sometimes if you don't get lucky. I know I lost one of my matches because I ordered. Or I lost. I didn't lose the match. I lost that game because I ordered. I activated Imperial Order, and I literally just drew spell card, spell card, spell card, spell card, spell card. It was awful. For the extra deck, we play one Borbo, one Shokunine, one Trident. Nothing crazy there. The idea is that you use these to make a 4 material Zeus, and also get a Trident pop. And Trident, sometimes just making Trident is really strong too. That's what's funny, is make Trident, having a pop usually you'll get 1, 2, 3, 4 pops total with this. So just having a pop every turn is really strong. I've had a lot of people be like, why are you just sitting on Trident when you just make the Zeus? And I was like, I don't need to. Like, Trident's just really good. Just pop one, and like can commit like one other card to the board. It's usually enough to beat stuff. It's really funny. Make Trident still good. Wonder why it got banned. Weird. The one Gallant Granite, searching good. This is basically your way to kind of get your resource game going. It gets you Giant back for later turns. It also is used in one of the specific combos to get Gigantes. One Rafflesia. Card's good. I mean, it's one of the few interactions the Rank 4 Archer actually makes. One Tornado Dragon, solid. It's the way you go for Scythe. It's also just like utility removal. One Dweller. Dweller's just broken versus so much stuff. I played versus an Eldritch player on one of the rounds, and I believe I just activated Harpy's Feather Duster and made a Dweller. I made Dweller. He was playing Zodiac Eldritch, yeah. So I made a Dweller and I made a Trident. I popped his Zodiac summon. He couldn't use any of his Eldritch Traps in Grave after I Feather Dusted him, and he just kind of like lost the game because like there was nothing he could do. And then against the Trident plus Dweller play. So then the following turn after that, I just summoned. I just went for Vespinetto and killed him. For the rest of it, we play the one Badusta. Badusta's insane. There's sometimes where Badusta's not like amazing, but like it can stall you turns that you need to like rebuild your hand advantage so you can make an actual push. Badusta against some decks will literally just give you 3 turns to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Granted, I have had people just rip the Nadir off the top. That feels bad, but Badusta is still, I think, just amazing. It's one of the best rank 4s. Just turns them off for a turn. This deck doesn't naturally make any monster effect negations. So like if you know they have an Alistair in hand and you don't have a good way to deal with it, make Badusta pass can carry you in some situations. From there, one Silent Honor Arc. This is probably weird to people. I love this card in every rank 4 deck because it's got like, it is non-destruction removal that doesn't make them hit the graveyard. Meaning, like, a lot of cards just get attached to this, and they just sit there for a while. It also has double utility that, it can swing, it can crash, detach, not be destroyed, and then make a Zeus. Which, there's not much in here besides, like, the Zodiac engine that can do that, and there's nothing that can do that under 4 summons. So you get the Zeus on 5, you get Nibiru. So, like, it definitely has its place, and it also functions as, like, generic removal. I think this card's really underrated. Always will. I always love this card. The one Drill Driver Vespinetto, if you haven't noticed, we have a lot of exercises that don't really put damage on board. Vespinetto fixes that. It's also just like nice utility that if they clear it, you get to summon a monster back. One Divine Arsenal Zeus. I mean, Zeus is insane. I don't make this as much as you would think. I make it a good amount, but it's not what's like winning me games a lot of the time. It's more of like one of those cards like I sit on Trident more than I make Zeus. But you just need the option to go Zeus is just surreal. You have to play it, unfortunately. Well, it'll be in the tin soon, so it shouldn't be as big of a deal. 1 Lambda, 1 Dagda, 1 Phoenix, 1 Unicorn. I was playing Access Code, but I never made it. In theory, Access Code is good. In practice, I don't ever make Access Code. To me, it feels too committal. There's sometimes where like it might have been the right play, but I didn't need to do it. There's also a time where like I overcommitted because I was like, I can just access code game. This deck doesn't need to just go access code game. This deck can just grind resources really well. So sometimes you're just like, you just don't need to make the access code and not giving yourself that like option to do it, instead giving yourself utility. But if you were to cut anything, Honor Arc is probably the 15th extra deck card. You could argue for Phoenix, but sometimes hitting Floodgates is too real. I would say, like, if you're going to cut anything, these two are, like, the most obvious ones. After that, like, you don't need to play the Borbo, but it's nice. Just options. There's options there. I just think, like, if you want to play Access Code, you can. You don't need to, though. But that's the whole deck. I got second place at a VIP Invitational. I think I went 4-1 with this. And then I went 3-1-1 in the other one, unfortunately. But yeah, this deck's really cool. I really like it. I've been wanting to win in locals with it. I've played it a couple times. I always end up doing okay. I've gone like 3-1-1 twice. I've gone 2-1-1, and I've gone 4-1 now. In total, I cannot get my goddamn win with this deck, but I get so close every time. I'm getting better with it as it goes too. But sometimes it's just down to luck, and sometimes I'm just not. It's not favoring me right now. The game is just like, nah, you can't do it. You'll brick at least like. You'll like double brick into literally unplayable god awful hands for no reason, even though your deck plays like a million ways to get the good cards. It is what it is. But yeah, I've been enjoying remote duels. I really hope you guys try them too. I even got myself a nice shiny remote duel mat, as you can see here. I like this mat. It's nice. It's nice. They're worth a little bit too. I think they're like $100. And I was like, oh cool, I got the mat. I won the mat. Yay. But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys later.